Hey everybody, how's it going? It's been a minute, but you're gonna start seeing some YouTube videos on this channel, specifically because I am part of the AABL Season 5, the A-Drive Army Battle League. I've been subscribed to A-Drive for a while now. He's one of my favorite Pokemon streamers, and I'm really glad I get the opportunity to be in this Battle League. So I just wanted to break down my draft so that you guys knew what Pokemon you could expect to see in the upcoming battles that'll be posted on this channel. So for starters, let's get right into it with my first pick. I am gonna go by rounds, not by tiers. So this was my round 1 pick, but you will see that it actually was not a tier 1. I went ahead and started with Zeraora, specifically because I think Zeraora is a really big value pick in tier 2. I know he's underused, not overused, which I still think is like I feel like he should at least be underused borderline, but maybe I'm wrong. I'm not all that familiar with the meta, but I do feel like Zeraora is an insanely good Pokemon. Base 143 speed. What's outspeeding that? Like, what not scarfed Pokemon is going to outspeed my base 143 Zeraora? Maybe a few Megas. Other than that, like, what do you have? So I think that's huge because I have basically a win condition for almost every single match, you know, because once I get rid of that one ground type or that one grass type that resists, you know, what do I lose to? So once I have that in there, I think I just kind of can win with Zeraora once I get rid of any threat to him. So that's really big. He's got some cool options. Volt Absorb is his only ability, unfortunately, but that still gives me a switch into some strong Pokemon like Tapu Koko is extremely prevalent. Even some of the tankier Pokemon like the Rotoms, you know, I can just take that Volt Switch, lock them in, and then I get to click Close Combat or Knock Off against something. Even Plasma Fist if I think they're just going to Hard Switch. But just a really strong, really fast Pokemon that I think I can bring pretty much every week. I think that's pretty much all I got for him. So let's go ahead and move to the next pick. You'll see kind of off the bat what I was starting to do. I do think drafting Zeraora round 1 might have been a bit of a mistake because there was one Pokemon I wanted more that I should have known was a higher priority on everyone's list. While Zeraora was a high priority on mine, I don't think many other people were going, oh, I have to pick Zeraora, I have to get Zeraora before someone else grabs him. One Pokemon that did fit that bill, though, was Tornadus Therian, and I really wanted to go for a electric flying ground core because this was my first draft with like a bunch of people in it as opposed to just a few. So I really wanted to kind of go for an off core, not Dragon Steel Fairy off the bat because everyone's going to go for that. So my options would be super limited. There are 16 people in this league, you know, so I have to wait, I think 12 picks after my second pick. Oh no, even more than that because it's snake format. So I had to wait a long time after my first 2 picks to pick again. And that's kind of when all the priority Pokemon are going. So I really should have known that I needed to grab Tornadus Therian, but it got sniped from me between my first 2 picks. Actually, on the wheel pick, it got taken from me. Sorry, my cats there. My cats are being noisy. Let me let my cat out real quick. What? Come here. Here, kitty. I might cut that. I might show the shot with the cat. Important things. But yeah, so Tornadus Therian got stolen from me between my first 2 picks. There were only 4 picks between my first and second pick, and it was one of them. I really should have grabbed it first. I should have thought about it a little more, but I really wanted Zeraora. So it got sniped, and I decided then I wanted to kind of wait on my flying type. Like, there were options like Skarmory, that was up. There were even, like, normal Tornadus or Thunderous, but I already had an electric type. So I just kind of wanted to wait on the flying type and see what else was up by my next few picks because I had a while to think about it, and Tornadus Therian was the only one I was really thinking about. So I went ahead and grabbed Garchomp. So Garchomp is my tier 1. When you think of tier 1s in Draft League, Garchomp probably isn't the first thing that comes to mind. You know, you got Tornadus, Thunderous Therian, you got yeah, like Lando Therian, obviously, and then the Lotties, the Tapus, like, you know, those are kind of the go-to. But I really wanted a strong ground type. I wanted a pretty fast ground type, and most importantly, I wanted to kind of kill two birds with one stone, because even though, like, I know I said I wanted to go for an off core, but I still want that Dragon Steel Fairy core eventually, you know, even if it's with lesser Pokemon. I just wanted to prioritize getting the ground flying electric core first. So I got two birds with one stone here, and it still kind of covers the weaknesses really well. One important thing to note about this league is that you have to pick 3 Pokemon that can use Z moves. The rest of your team cannot. And one of those 3 has to be a tier 5. So I'll get into that a little bit more, but I drafted Garchomp because I had in mind a Z Sandstorm sort of feel here, because Garchomp 102 base speed, I mean, it's not the fastest ever, but it's going to outspeed a lot of things. But you raise that speed 1 stage and it gets really scary. Like, it gets really scary. So that I feel like this was kind of a pick going more towards my future picks as opposed to just being strong on its own. It's going to have to be strong with what the other things I grab are. And you'll see that here in a second. I kind of start to build around Garchomp. The only other thing I want to mention is that this kind of started my really high speed tiers. I have Zeraora, which is going to outspeed everything, and then I have Garchomp, which base 102 means anything that's like 1.5 or 110 has to run a max speed, or like pretty much max speed, and then a positive speed nature to make sure that they outspeed me, and that is very, very valuable to me to make sure that they can't get that extra damage with their nature. They have to go for extra speed if they're prepping to outspeed Garchomp. And then the base 100s as well, they have to kind of figure out on their own, like, does he run max speed? Does he run a speed nature? Do I need to run a speed nature to make up for that, to make sure I can outspeed if he doesn't? So forth and so on. So I think Garchomp's a pretty good speed tier, and then obviously Zeraora is faster than everything. So next up, we had Sylveon. And Sylveon, so I know I said I wanted to prioritize my ground electric flying core, but I saw Sylveon was still up around 3. I knew I was going to need a fairy type eventually, and I really wanted to grab like a tankier Pokemon now, because I realized with my first 2 picks I was kind of going hyper offensive, and I didn't like that. And you'll see that ends up continuing to be a problem, unfortunately. But I went ahead and grabbed Sylveon. So Sylveon, really bulky fairy type, a little lower on the defense than the special defense, but you run a bold nature, you run max defense, and suddenly nothing's touching you again. Additionally, it is an evolution, which means it's got Wish, Protect, Heal Bell, which are so important because I, you know, can Wish, I can either Protect, or I can switch into something that needs the health, assuming I think they can live the next hit that's coming to them. I can Heal Bell in case anyone tries to Toxic any of my Pokemon, like my setup Pokemon, my sweepers, anything like that. Burns obviously will go away, and that's really important considering Zeraora and Garchomp are both physical attackers, and they're kind of my main way to hit things. But also, 110 as a base special attack, you can't sleep on that. So Sylveon gives me this opportunity to surprise people, maybe run a choice spec set. I wouldn't be fast, obviously, but I could even run like a Scarf set if I really wanted to, but base 60 is kind of not a lot to work with. But still, if I bring in like Sylveon against... I can't think of an example off the top of my head, but like a setup Pokemon, you know, I bring in Sylveon, they think, oh, he has this tank Pokemon in front of me, it's not going to be able to hit me super hard, I can go ahead and go for a Dragon Dance, or I can go ahead and go for Swords Dance, and then I hit them with this, they go for that, and I hit them with a Choice Specs Hyper Voice with Pixelate, and suddenly they get one shot and they don't know what to do anymore because that was their one-win condition gone. I think Sylveon's super versatile. I have a lot of fun using Sylveon in past leagues, and I think it's just going to be a really solid pick overall, so I'm excited to see what it does. After that, I finally got around to finishing my electric ground flying core and went for Mega Pidgeot. So Mega Pidgeot is a tier 2 Mega, which means I did get some extra points for my free picks. I ended up going up to 440 as opposed to just the normal 400. Mega Pidgeot, if you don't know, is a monster. I was actually kind of surprised to see it in tier 2 Mega. I know it's not the fastest thing in the world. Like it's up there, but there's still going to be a lot of mons that outspeed it. But No Guard as its ability, plus having access to Hurricane, plus base 135 special attack means nothing wants to take that. It doesn't matter if it's a steel type. It doesn't matter if it resists it. Like, it is going to take a ton of damage from that. And I just think it's an incredible Pokemon. I have never used Mega Pidgeot before, though, so this is all going to be new to me here. But I do think it's going to be incredibly valuable on this team. It does give me a special attacker, so right now I've got 2 special attackers, 2 physical attackers. However, I again have 3 very, very offensive Pokemon with a lot of weaknesses, except for Zeraora, but Zeraora is frail in general, so it doesn't really matter that he's only got the 1 weakness. And then Sylveon, which is my only tank. So Sylveon's got a lot of work to do so far. And I try to correct that, but I do that a little too late in the draft, and you'll see what happens. I do think I dealt with it pretty well, though. But yeah, Mega Pidgeot, normal flying. I got my core now. It's super offensive, and nothing really wants to switch in against that. Once I get momentum with this team, it's going to be really hard for anyone to stop me. So then we're moving into the 5th pick. For round 5, I grabbed Cobalion. Now, I did this for a few reasons. The first one gives me my Steel type. Now I have my Dragon Steel Fairy Core and my Electric Flying Ground Core, which is awesome. I can bring either, and my opponents kind of have to prep for both, you know, because if I bring the one that they aren't expecting and they only prepped for the other one, suddenly they have no way to deal with the weakness coverage that I have between the 3 types. So that's really important. It also gave me a fighting type, which, you know, it'll help with a lot of matchups. I really think that it's important to have like a stab close combat user, especially with how like prevalent ice is as an offensive typing, even though ice can kind of get destroyed by anything. It's a very weak defensive typing, but super strong offensively. And then obviously the steel type, just because I need it for the core. Cobalion's really cool. It gets Stealth Rocks, if I'm not mistaken. It's 108 speed, so my speed tiers are getting a little weird here, because almost everything is above 100, but they're spread out above 100, which means I'm fast, but also, like, everyone else's fast Pokemon have to kind of look at each individual one of my Pokemon and say, am I faster than this? Can I be? Like, what do I need to do? So I think people are going to have to prep really hard against my team to know what they do and don't outspeed. Cobalion can be bulky. He's not the best defensive typing just because of how prevalent like ground types are in the meta. However, I do think the fact that the fighting weaknesses are pretty much blocked off by the steel type is nice. He can hit really hard. A lot of people can run Bandit. A lot of people run Scarfed. Some people just go for purely defensive sets. I think you can run a lot of different things with Cobalion. This will be my first time using Cobalion as well. But I drafted him for a few reasons, and you will see kind of what my plan was going on later. You'll see it probably towards, I think, like pick 8. But yeah, so right now Cobalion is like kind of there for the team. It doesn't make a like. He's a good Pokemon, but right now I don't really have the team to back him up other than the Fairy and Dragon type, right? So immediately I went ahead and picked something up that made Cobalion a better fit on the team, and that is Araquanid. Araquanid gets Sticky Webs, and Sticky Webs is real rough for anyone to deal with. You have to defog those away. Your win condition can just immediately evaporate if they come in and they go down to -1 speed. Dragon Dance users, a lot of times after a Dragon Dance, and they like their plan is I set up a Dragon Dance, I one-shot everything out, speed everything. If I can get rid of their ability to do that, they really don't have a backup plan most of the time. And then I can outspeed them with something like Zeraora, Scarf Chomp, Scarf Cobalion. Mega Pidgeot is still fast enough that it'll outspeed a bunch of things. So I think getting webs on this team with my speed tiers right now is pretty cool. I don't have a ton of like base 80-ish Pokemon, so it's not like going to be incredible yet, but I do keep drafting around this idea of getting webs up. So I kind of had a lot of ideas going into the draft, and I didn't really know which one I wanted to stick with. And I think I ended up doing a little bit of like most of them, which is good and bad. Good because I don't really have. It's hard to predict what I'm gonna do because I have so many options that I can bring. But bad because I don't really have a focus. You know, I'm weak in a lot of areas because I'm not strong in one, if that makes sense. I might have worded that poorly, but Yeah, since I spread myself so thin, there it is. I spread myself really thin, which means I have a lot of holes, but also I have a lot of ways to deal with other people's strategies. So we'll see what happens with that. But Araquanid, Water Bubble is an insane ability. Basically, I can't get burned. Fire type moves do pretty much nothing to me. I forget, there's another thing that Water Bubble does, but it's pretty crazy. It allows Araquanid to also put out a ton of damage, even though it's only got like a base 70 attack, and its defenses are enough to kind of back it up and make it not really the tankiest Pokemon, because Bug type is just such a weak defensive typing, but it can still take some hits if you switch it in at the right moments. Gets U-turn, gets Liquidation, which is important, like Aqua Plate, Water Plate, Aqua Plate, one of those. Liquidation from Araquanid just hits a lot of things really hard. I think it gets Scald. I don't know how many people run Scald, though, just because it's a physical attack or special attack is base 50. I really wish I remember what Water Bubble does. I'm pretty sure it makes it so that your water-type moves also hit harder, but I'd have to double-check on that. But yeah, really I drafted Araquanid just to be a webs user. I think getting sticky webs up is going to be a lot of fun and just make it like with my hyper offensive team, it's really important that I outspeed everything. And if I sticky web like a Scarf user and then Zeraora can outspeed it half the time, if it's like I think base 100, I think Zeraora can still outspeed it if it's -1 and Scarfed, which is crazy. Like the ability to outspeed a Scarfed user without being Scarfed just because of sticky webs is kind of nuts. And then Zeraora obviously gets a decent amount of coverage. Actually, I think that's one of Zeraora's problems, is that he doesn't actually get a ton of coverage, so scratch that. But still, Zeraora hits hard enough that the fact that he outspeeds anything, especially if it was like Scarfed to check Zeraora, is awesome. Like if I get to that point, that's crazy. So yeah, Araquanid was really just a webs user. And then I kind of started to realize I still have a very offensive team. And I think with my next pick, I picked something that's super versatile, but still can hit hard if I need it to, but it can also be the tank if I need it to. So I went ahead and grabbed Celebi. So Celebi, tier 2, free pick, natural cure. If I get statused and I switch out, then my status goes away. Base 100 across the board, just standard for the mythicals. I mean, it's super versatile. It gets, I think it gets Calm Mind, and a lot of people run that, but also you can just run a tank set. I wish I remember. I looked into it a lot before I drafted it. But yeah, so this will be my first time using Celebi. Defensively, its typing isn't great. Offensively, it's okay, which I think is the main thing that holds it back from Pokemon like Mew, which basically just gets more moves and has less weaknesses. So yeah, Celebi all around I think is just a versatile pick for me. I'm probably going to bring a tankier set most of the time just because I'll need it, I think, which is unfortunate just because it's not a great defensive typing. But we'll see. I'll probably surprise people with the setup set every now and then. It really all depends. But yeah, Celebi I looked a lot into before I actually drafted it. I wish I could remember more about it now. First time using Celebi. I'm excited to see what it can do. After that, I believe this is where I start to realize that I've got a lot of holes defensively in my team. So I went ahead and grabbed Porygon 2. Porygon 2, super versatile defensive Pokemon. With Eviolite, it's insane what hits it can take. Like, it's just nuts. It can take anything. I think it gets Recover. I can't remember off the top of my head, though. Trace is super cool. I can trace the ability of opponents, and on opponents like, I don't know, like Mega Metacham, that's important. Like anything with abilities that like make the Pokemon, it's really cool to be able to just trace that and then use it. Download, I forget, I think Download raises your stat of the opponent's highest stat. I'd have to look into it again. But really what I'm drafting Porygon for isn't offense at all. It's just to be able to take the hits that my other Pokemon can't. It's only got the one weakness with fighting, and people rarely bring it. So yeah, I think Porygon 2 is just going to be a very important switch in for me. Downside to having an Eviolite tank is that knockoff obviously pretty much invalidates it, but I do have Cobalion, which gets justified as its ability, which means if it gets hit by a Dark-type move, its attack is raised one stage. Additionally, I still have to choose another Z user. I've got I've got Garchomp as a Z user, but I have to choose another one, right? So I'm at this point not really sure what I want to go with. I think I was thinking Zeraora just for Z close combat. And later in the draft, I realized Cobalion, if I give him a Z Crystal, knockoff does a lot less damage. It doesn't actually get rid of the Z Crystal, and then I get to hit something back hard with +1 attack. So there's really cool synergy between Cobalion and Porygon 2, I think. Only downside is that they're both weak to fighting, which means if I switch in Cobalion in place of Porygon 2, and someone, instead of going for knockoff, goes for like Drain Punch or close combat, I'm taking a lot of damage, so I have to be really careful with it. But yeah, Porygon 2 gives me a very important tank, and it's probably going to be brought a lot because my team is pretty offensive. So yeah, after that, I went ahead and wanted to finish out. You'll notice at this point, I have a water type and a fire type. A water type and a grass type. I went ahead and grabbed a fire type with my next pick, if I remember, just because I wanted to go ahead and get that core too. Oh, whoops. So there we go. Yeah, I went ahead and grabbed Chandelure. I think Chandelure is crazy, especially under webs. Base 80 speed gives me another really good speed tier. I have a gap between 80 and 100 and a gap between 60 and 80. But filling in the gap between 60 and 100 was pretty important. So base 80 Pokemon, and under webs, again, I'm outspeeding so many things. And I'm really excited for that to happen. Base 145 special attack, like, what do? What do you switch into that? Especially with fire ghost typing, I hit so many types just so hard. Flame Body, I have another ability that just entirely, what's the word? I can't remember the word, but makes a type useless. You know, I switch in with Flash Fire, and suddenly, you know, their fire type attack did nothing other than help me. Flame Body, if anyone tries to hit me on the physical side, they have a chance of getting burned. Infiltrator, I can't remember what Infiltrator does, but I remember it being a decent option. What is this song? Village Bridge? Get out of here. Geocinch down. There we go. But yeah, I think Chandelure basically is just a way for me to hit anything just really hard. So I think I'm going to be bringing it a lot. I think it's a pretty exciting option. And then also it finishes out my Grasswater Fire Core. So then after that, I had to pick 2 tier 4s and a tier 5 still. The tier 5 had to be a Z user, and you know, I don't have a rock type, I don't have a dark type, I don't have a ton of defensive Pokemon, I don't have a poison type. It was at this point where I realized I did do that thing where I spread myself way too thin trying to do way too many things, and now I'm running out of picks to get the very important types. So I went ahead and grabbed Lycanroc Day next. This is Lycanroc Day, not Dusk, which, you know, Dusk is obviously the better one with the Tough Claws ability, so it's unfortunate. I wanted to grab Dusk, actually, but ended up getting sniped, which is fine. Lycanroc Day is good, especially because we talked earlier about Z Sandstorm Garchomp, which Z Sandstorm, by the way, raises Garchomp's speed 1 stage, and then also brings him to Sandstill, and then Lycanroc gets Sand Rush. So again, this is another over 100 speed Pokemon already, but Sand Rush at 112 means I outspeed like everything. Like most Scarf things, I'll have a chance of outspeeding. And then I still get a Cell Rock too, so if I don't manage to set up the Sandstorm, I still have a stab priority move. Base 115 attack, I get Stone Edge. I don't remember anything else, actually, but I get Stone Edge. Yeah, he's just a rock type that can hit things really hard and also gives me a sweeping opportunity just with Z Sandstorm Garchomp. I think those two will have a lot of synergy together, and I'm really excited to see what it can do. But it's a tier 4, you know, it's not supposed to be incredible by any means, but I drafted it to have a rock type and to have that ability to have another threat with Sandstorm so that people have to be on their toes for that. After that, I went ahead and grabbed another Eviolite user as a tank. So you're probably thinking, Sam, you're stupid. Why would you have 2 Eviolite users as 2 of your 3 defensive Pokemon on this team? Why would you do that? And it's all because of Cobalion. The idea that I can bring 2 Eviolite tanks and force people to run just knockoff or even choice band knockoff, like trying to just really burst through my tanks that way. If I switch in Cobalion and he's got a Z Crystal and I get that justified boost, what are they going to do? Like, I'm a fast Pokemon with +1 attack now, and I have a Z Crystal on me, and they know that. What do they switch into it? They really can't switch anything into it because I'm +1. So I think there's a lot of synergy there, especially now with Golbat being a flying type. No one's going to throw a fighting move out at Golbat, so I have a safer switch into Cobalion. And then it's a flying type, so no one's going to throw an earth move out at it. Like, Cobalion comes in and they have to predict it if they want to gain momentum there. They have to know that Cobalion's going to come in. But if they do, like they go for an Earthquake because they think Cobalion's coming in, then I have a base 80 attack Pokemon, which isn't great, but it's still sitting in front of them at like full health with a Brave Bird coming at their face, you know? Like, it's scary. It's scary that they have to make that 50-50. And I think that's going to stress a lot of people out. And I think I will manage to catch a lot of people off guard with that. So I'm really excited. I do think my tanks ended up being very synergetic with each other. And even though I'm a hyper offensive team at this point, but I still think I have a lot of options defensively, which is good. Which brings me into my last pick. So tier 5 had to be a Z user. I didn't know for sure what I wanted to do with it, but I knew I needed an ice type, and I went ahead and grabbed another evolution because I had to. So here's Glaceon. Glaceon is bad. It's really bad, but it gets access to Hail. So Z Hail Glaceon raises its speed 1 stage. Its special attack is still base 130. I can hit things really hard. If I get +1 speed, I'll have enough to outspeed, I think most base like 80s if I recall, and maybe above that. I'd have to run the calc again, but not only that, I get Ice Body and Snow Cloak. So I can run Z Hail Snow Cloak, things have trouble hitting me, and I'm still able to hit them with a 100% accurate like Ice Beam. I can even go for something riskier with Blizzard. There's also, I get access to Ice Shard even though it's not great with base 60 attack, but it's still important to have that stab priority. So that's cool. But then I can also run Ice Body, get a bit of a tankier set, bring max defense, bold nature, some special defense if I want it, max HP. And then I'm getting that 1/16 health back every turn. It's not a ton, but if I'm also holding leftovers, let's say I don't bring Z Hail, I just bring leftovers and I set up Hail, I'm a tank beast, you know, with either ability. It's so hard for anyone to actually break through unless they have that fighting or earth type, which while most people do, if I make sure that's down, like, I don't know. I think Glaceon has some viability on my team, and I really do think I'm probably going to bring it like 3 or 4 times. I think it has a lot of potential. But either way, I needed the tier 5. I wanted something that had some option with Z moves, even if it's just like a Z Blizzard on a prediction into something. But yeah, so that's the team. I did end up making the 3 Z users officially Garchomp, Cobalion, and Glaceon. I did end up going still super offensive. I really didn't want to do that because I am not the most offensive player. I typically run like really safe comps that have like 3 or 4 tanks. So this is going to be new to me. This is my first like really big league, and it's the first time I'm I'm going way out of my comfort zone when I really shouldn't be, but we'll see what happens. I think my team's super offensive, and I'm going to have to get used to playing that, so I'm not going to be too surprised if the first few weeks are kind of rough for me. But I'm pretty happy with what I ended up drafting. I think most people are going to be pretty afraid of it just because I have so many really fast, really strong Pokemon, but they still can't like just let everything outspeed me because I do have some speed tier options below it. So I'm curious to see what they end up doing. My first matchup should be happening Thursday morning, and then that'll be posted over the weekend. I'll make a team builder as well. I'm gonna have a ton of YouTube videos for this because I'm really excited for it. Also, I should be streaming again here soon. It's been a lot. Like, I got so busy with school, and then I didn't know if anyone even wanted me to stream anymore, and I don't know. But I'm going to be streaming again because I want to stream, and because I want to play Persona, I want to play Pokemon, so I'm really excited to see if anyone ends up turning up for that, so... Yeah, I think that's all I got for you guys. I'm back. You're going to be seeing a lot of YouTube videos. You're going to be seeing a lot of streams, and I hope I can end up actually winning a few games in this league. Very first matchup is actually against the only other team that's mascot is the Bronzongs, so pressure's on already. I have to be the superior Bronzong, but we'll see what happens. Alright, that's all I got for you guys. Thanks for watching. Hope you're excited for the videos. Bye!